Hello and welcome back to the channel. Thank you for joining me in another of my wonderful interviews. Now, the last time we did this, I had to pull the video because for some reason my sound went like that. Nobody could hear me. And although I know a number of people said thank God for that, Vobes has shut his mouth, it was actually worthwhile some of the questions that I may have put to my guest. And my guest is Ian Newal, and we're going to be talking about this wonderful invention of effectively free energy, care of the tide and care of the moon, lunar pulse drum. And you may remember a few months ago we had James on, who was telling us about this incredible invention that was going into the tidal area at Bideford in Devon. And I think the date change, we've got some more exciting news. So of course we've managed to connect up with our special global satellite communication to the Caribbean, where Ian is currently residing, I believe, in the Pirates of Caribbean bar. So who knows what will happen. Ian, welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here again, and hopefully this time people will hear the questions.
Hear the questions, and so they'll know what the answers. But we've had some very extra information and exciting news, so that's really good. So that's well worth for doing this again. So first of all, let's just go back, and I remember, I think I asked you this, just for those people who are visiting this for the very first time, just give us an overview of this invention for effectively free energy that is not a blight on the landscape, unlike some of these solar panels which are going up and the wind turbines. And there'll be a video about one that's being proposed in Wiltshire coming very soon, which people are very much angry about. But let's not get that, because I don't think people will be very, well, they won't be perturbed at all about this rather wonderful invention of James's. So
Yeah,
if you've managed to hear the question,
I
over
did.
to you, James.
Ian, actually, but
Oh yes, yes, you're not. Yes, see,
uh,
the brain isn't working today.
uh, that's
Ian.
perfectly fine. So the invention is this, and it's so simple and so straightforward. We're taking out the complexity that goes on in the energy industry. So the old principle of the Archimedes screw has been reinvented to put into tidal zones. And the reason for putting it into tidal zones is, unlike wind or unlike the sun, which it doesn't always shine and the wind doesn't always blow, the tide is just there. So we had that debate about the Flat Earth Society the other time, and my backstop position is I don't care, because the tides have been measured for 400 years, and we know where they are. And we're testing it in Bideford Harbour at the moment, which is near to the second highest tidal range in the world, with the first one being over in the Bay of Fundy. So if we measure it there, we can measure it anywhere, because we've got the timetables anywhere. So we can map it to wherever we want to go. So what is going on now is we are installing it into Bideford Harbour under the permissions and the certifications of Torridge District Council, the Harbour Master, and the Mariners Agency. So everybody's in agreement. We're going to run it for a lunar cycle, and the product's called Lunar Pulse Drum because, as everybody knows, the tides run in a lunar cycle, so you have high and low and etc. But once we got the results, then we can actually extrapolate those data sets to anywhere that we want to go. And the good news is, although the lovely bureaucracy of the government sort of slowed us down a little bit, we've now fought back up again. So we were going to put it into one place, but that was where the kayakers and the rowing clubs and the other people sort of like play around. So we might have upset them. So we're now putting it right in the central zone, opposite the King's Arm pub, if anybody wants to go and see it, which is good. So you can have a nice sunny day pint and watch the tidal energy generator go to work. But the principle is this. Basically, as the tide rises, it pushes air up, and as the tide falls, it pushes air down, or whichever way. But the point is, it's predictable, it's sustainable, you know it's there, and it's abundantly free. The only thing you need to do is put the product in the sea and then connect it back to the land. And that's where it gets really interesting, because if you actually think about it, a lot of the impoverished communities around the country are spread out around the coastal zones. So if we can deliver the energy that's on their doorstep back into the local community, that's pretty cool. And the only thing we need to do is establish the connection from the generator to the land. Now, separate to all of what we're doing, we've also established some relationships and some strategic partnerships with people who have licenses to go into the estuaries, but also licenses to connect into the national grid. But we also will get further down the line an opportunity to connect into the local grid. And that changes the game for everybody. Because if I can deliver you, or we, whoever we are, can deliver energy to the local community without the utilisation of the utilities sitting in the middle and taking the coinage, and I use that term very advisedly because coinage is money.
Well, absolutely.
But we're returning savings that are free from the sea to the coin, which stands for Community of Interest Network. So we're flipping the coin on its head and giving it back to the people who had it anyway, because it was always there.
Right. So I think what you've said is you can feed some to the national grid should they want it, but you can also provide the local communities at a discounted rate, so they haven't got to go through all these complicated systems and deal with the what would you call it, the electric brokers who pose as suppliers.
Yes, and basically it means that unlike the way that democracy might be working at the moment, democracy is supposed to be about choice and well-informed decisions. But we can give the choice to the local community, the regional community, or the national community. Not our problem. Make a choice, because if the numbers stack up and the energy's there and it's harvestable and it's deliverable at a lower rate than what you've got, or in a more sustainable way, or whatever, then the decision becomes a no-brainer. You just have to decide who signs the contract.
And if I remember rightly from the previous conversation, I mean, the actual device can be scalable from something like a metre square upwards, depending on the...
Yeah, so I've got an update on that as well. So
okay.
Right, so the device that's going in is about, but this is the test device. So
yes.
this is the proof of concept stage, and then we take the results and then we iterate it and turn it into the consumable product. But we need to run through this stage to be able to go to that stage. So it's like that. So it's a metre round and 3 metres high. So you've got a high fall, a low fall. So the flow goes. But that actually makes it more compelling because we can fit more units into a smaller space. So it's modular, it's scalable, and we can daisy chain link it so that everything connects it. So the more you want, the more you put in. But you don't put it into anywhere. It's not like wind farms or solar farms where you've got lots of complexity and you're taking away stuff and interfering with the environment. We just put it in and it's very quiet and it doesn't really do anything. But it actually provides, in a harbour or an estuary, a nice nurse's home for the fishes that can come back and be protected and people can't touch them. So it's environmentally sustainable in a way that nothing else really is.
Yes, because when people talk about tidal stuff, I mean, the things that have been tested where they've effectively sealed off a whole harbour and you've got these turbines going around chopping up fish and preventing vehicles coming in. I mean, it's sort of the opposite of the, as Julia calls them, the sky choppers, which are the wind turbines, which are damaging wildlife. Whereas this is a unit that sits in there and it's benign in as much as all it's doing is going up and down.
Yeah,
in a sealed unit.
In a sealed unit, so things can shelter around it, and it becomes a safe harbour for the environment, as well as sitting in a harbour and providing energy back from the harvestable sea back to the land. It's
so the fish aren't being sucked in as it goes up and down like that.
No,
you know,
good God, no, no, no. The fish can choose to be there, so they can't get caught by the people who want to catch them.
Yes. So there we are. Clever.
And you've created a big fish, little fish school where they can come back to life.
Fantastic. And you mentioned there that it's scalable, because just before we were recording, you told me a rather amazing statistic about Morecambe Bay. Would you just relay that?
Right. So I need to be quite careful, but I'll give it to you because we're working through the principles. But
yes,
I've tested this with the engineers in a couple of different places. So if you imagine Morecambe Bay, where people keep on disappearing when they go
the cockle pickers
were
the famous.
Yeah, but Morecambe Bay is huge, but it's also the location for the future technology Eden Project. So you've got the Eden Project down south. This is the northern version of it, and LPD were already in conversation with them. But if I was to say to you, within the huge, vast expanse of Morecambe Bay, if I asked, could I have 1 square used that?
Sorry, the thing froze in for a second. 1 square kilometre, I think you said. Oh, we've got. Sorry,
I'm going to test and validate the number before I give it to the audience.
Right, sorry. We hang on a minute. We had a freeze. We had an internet freeze because all the way from the Caribbean there was obviously the carrier was.
Okay, sorry.
So I think we got as far as if you could have 1 square kilometre. Did you say?
Yeah, out of the hundreds of square kilometres.
Yes.
I could put more than 100,000 power generation units in there. Quite a lot more.
100,000
kilowatt. Higher. Yeah, I'm being conservative in my estimate.
Right. Within that very tiny space. Now, if you'd put in a kilometre square, and it was wind farms, I mean, you're only going to have a handful of those, aren't you?
Yeah, and they're bloody expensive as well, aren't they?
Exactly. And of course, they've got all the problems with not only the wildlife thing, but then decommissioning and landfill and all of that we've seen the big problems with this so-called green technology, which ends up leaching into the water table. Whereas, as we've said, these are very simplistic in its concept and its materials. And
it's benign and simple. It's
benign and simple. There we go.
And uninterfering with what goes on naturally. So
yes.
So then the wildlife congregates around it, and it becomes a place where they want to be, rather than getting sliced and diced through the spin cycle of the turbines, whether they be wind or sort of like tidal lagoons. So we just changed the game. So the only question we now need to answer is how much power can we get out of the one that we're testing right now. Once we know that, then everything comes to life.
Right. And when you come to decommission, should you need to decommission, and I just mentioned about the sort of the problems with these other ones with solar panels, you've got it affects the ground because of all the concrete fixings, and the same with the winter. Should you need to remove these once you've just pulled it out of the tidal area? That, I mean, there's nothing else to do in terms of.
There's so few moving parts. And they're not environmentally impactful like rare minerals, blah blah blah.
Yes.
But basically, the first question would be, why would you want to remove it anyway if it's harvesting energy and it's low maintenance and long term?
Yes.
The second question would be, once you've done it, it's not like going and dumping a bunch of solar panels in a land tip with all sorts of interesting rare elements floating around in them.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And we're not going for that craziness that you and I were talking about last time, which is the lovely UK government proposal to go and put a solar panel farm in the Sahara Desert and then run a 2,000-mile cable. I think the cost was 16 billion quid, wasn't it, to run a cable across conflict zones and countries that don't really like Britain anymore.
What could possibly go wrong?
that would be my question.
Yeah.
You know, but apparently I'm a pain for asking
Well, you
constructive
know,
critical
I
thinking.
mean,
But
it is one of those questions that we start to raise now when we've heard of pipelines being blown up and things like that. You know, when it goes across different territories.
very good point and well made, Richard.
Thank you very much. um, Whereas if you've got this going locally and you're supplying local people with local electricity from their tide that they know is coming
Yeah.
in and out, it's a no-brainer, isn't it?
Well, one would like to think so, but
Mm.
as your audience pointed out on our last session, uh, perhaps people now want to kill me for stating the bleeding obvious in Monty Python terms. Um,
I hope
uh,
not. That
Look, the Knights of the Round Table are saying, put it on your doorstep. It's already on your doorstep. It's the sea over there. Harvest the seed, return it to the land, give it to the local community. That's kind of a no-brainer.
mm,
Um,
abs-
and it was always there. Someone just had to find a way to harvest it. Now, if you
yeah.
go harvesting on land with solar panel farms, maybe you're taking away agricultural land, as we were talking about earlier.
Yes, I
If
mean they seem to have moved away from the idea of people having them on their rooftops, which in and of itself is a visual blight. But you know, at least you can power your own personal home with some of it. And they seem to have decided, oh no, let's take away food and the production of food and use this you know. Great sways of the landscape to have this power and then run these cables some huge
Yeah,
distance to wherever it's being turned on. Meanwhile, people are upset. They're wondering whether there's, you know, the big batteries that they've got to take the power and part storage, the hum, the noise, these tracking things that go around and track the sun. Of course, finding the sun these days when they're busy spraying stuff in to reflect the sunlight so we don't have all this CO2 problem just seems to be an oxymoron in and of itself. So you know what you're suggesting and how you're working just does seem a very simple answer, but sometimes simple is too easy, because who's making all the billions out of it, Ian? Who's making the vast profits?
well, if you keep it simple, stupid, and that's the KISS methodology,
Yes.
and everybody talks about it, but everybody loves complexity because if you've got complexity in the supply chain, oh, there's lots of wonga. So whereas we're just going, yeah, don't do it that way. This is so simple, and it's just there. As long as we prove the figures, the only debate that we're now going to have is why wouldn't you rather than why should we? Because if you actually think about it, Great Britain's heritage was as a maritime nation. We went to sea. But the reason we went to sea is because we've got bloody sea all around us. I mean, you know, from end to end, it's what, I can't remember the distance from Land's End to John O'Groats. It might be 729 miles or something
Yeah,
like that.
something
But
like
there's
that.
about 7,000 miles of coastline. And there's all of this abundance of tide everywhere because we've got huge tidal ranges and we've got the Gulf Stream and we've got the good God, man, why don't we just go and take what we already had and make ourselves a little bit better again and more environmentally sustainable? Oh, by the way, might become a world leader again, which,
Yes,
yeah,
heaven forbid we lead the way, for goodness sake.
well, good God, that would be a travesty of justice, wouldn't it? Oh, yeah,
Absolutely. So it's going in on something like the 17th of June, this test run, and people
yeah,
can come, they can go to the King's Arms, buy themselves a pint of something jolly, sit
yeah,
on the wall at Biddisford, and in the public zone they can come and watch this.
yeah.
I mean, presumably there's not going to be a huge amount to watch, seeing as it's just going up and down with the tide.
Well,
But it's a piece of historical energy creation,
yeah. Well,
and
it's a
people can be part of it.
revolutionary energy. It's a revolutionary energy generation where you won't see very much, but you'll have a nice pint of beer in a lovely spot, watching the
Yes,
sun go round and having a nice time.
and And isn't that the point? Instead of having to watch big sky choppers revolving round or tracking solar panels doing this, you realise actually nothing has changed in the environment that I'm looking at. You've still got the seagulls, you've still got the boats coming across, you've got the fishermen pulling out whatever it is, and at the same time you're generating electricity. And if this was replicated all around the countryside, we're getting something nice and cheap.
And you've also given us safe harbour to fishes, because everybody
And
likes fish.
safe harbours and fishes. And no crested newts were damaged in the process.
I mean, we are laughing about it, but if it works, it changes everything. And we know, and it's been tested on the River Thames, so we already know it does work. We just now need the hard facts, so that we can extrapolate the hard facts into the tidal charts and the energy charts that we already know, and then we can give people a predictable, hard fact-based business case as to why you should do it, not why we have to convince you to do it. So it kind of like spins it on its head. It's kind of like, if you can do it and it stacks up and it returns money to the local community and to the economy of Great Britain, and it creates an environmentally sustainable, well, ESG, DEI, blah, blah, blah. But if we tick all of those boxes, why wouldn't you?
Yes. And is there, will there be, just for the purposes of the public, sort of like a light bulb lighting up or a meter showing people what the current coming off it? Will there be anything demonstrable that people can go, wow, look at this?
Right. So it's a very good question, and thank you. I will go and talk to the engineering team about that, whether we should put a dashboard up to see what's happening. We are measuring and monitoring it because we need the results. So there will be measurements on the unit. The numbers, when we get them, they will be published out. We need to have the numbers, because without hard facts, you have no evidence base, and without an evidence base, you have no idea of the return on investment or the profitability of doing this. So there is a step process order that we have to go through. Once we've got it, we will share it with everybody. And in answer to the question that I think you were asking about, go down and see it, as we talked about last time when people couldn't hear you, I think your suggestion was, if you're interested, go down and see it. And if you are motivated, drag your bloody MP down with you by his ear and go, look, this is what we could be doing.
Yes. And go on.
And the reason for doing that, just to explain, is if you think about Torridge District Council, it's a deprived area, but they've got together with the land. So it's the land and sea agencies coming together in a deprived zone. So if we can, and so we finally got, and this is the problem worldwide, it's not the actual technology, it's the bureaucracy that's prevented this. So we've kind of like crossed that Rubicon and that bridge, which is not a good idea. Crossing the Rubicon went badly wrong for Caesar, but hey ho. But the point is, we've gone past that step, and therefore, if we prove it and can showcase it, then everybody should actually be paying attention to it. And if we can return the interest to the community of interest network in Bideford, why wouldn't we do it in your place? You know, this home is your home. The land, the sea is your sea, because the Crown Estate owns the rights to both. You're just knitting the two sides of the coin together.
Yes, and the great thing is, because you're being so open and transparent about it and demonstrating it, and people come along and can ask questions, they can email you, which will be in the description, and they can go to the website and find out about this. This isn't sort of things that are happening behind closed doors in smoke-filled rooms, and they're saying, well, you're just going to have this, we're going to lock off this harbour, and yeah, there's a bit of environmental damage, but don't worry about it. And then you're being pushed on with this thing which is damaging. The people can say, actually, do you know what? This makes so much sense. We want it. So you're helping the people say, this is what we actually, should they want it. It's not that you're pushing it on them. But if it makes sense and it's going to be cost, why wouldn't you?
Yeah, so we're not playing the big boy tech giant black box recorder game where they tell you that they're very open source with the information, but then they sit in a smoke-filled room and work out ways to block you from seeing it. We're just going to go. But and this was always James's principle. You know, he's a philanthropic scientist, and you know, he wants to return something back and leave a legacy. So why would we not share the information? Because I think the old expression, and I can't remember which way round it goes, sharing is caring or caring is sharing. But sharing and caring is knowledge squared. So the more you share, the bigger the return for everybody.
Yeah.
So being open and transparent has to be the old world order way of working rather than the new world order of making money.
Absolutely. And so many people at this moment are struggling to pay their bills, pay their electricity, their gas and all the rest of it. And the government are foisting the idea that we need some carbon neutral nonsense for the myth of man-made global warming. But if you take away the myth of man-made global warming and everything's got to go electric, this ticks those boxes anyway.
Right, without wishing to be impolite to your audience, that is what I generally describe as a no shit Sherlock moment. You know, basically, if you want environmental sustainability, and you want energy, and you want a reduction in cost, and you've got the energy sitting there abundant and free and harvestable in the sea, and all you have to do is connect it to the land, why not?
Yeah.
And if you actually make the environment more sustainable and give back the green and pleasant lands of the Great Britain estate to be actually made back into agricultural lands rather than putting solar and wind farms across the top of them, and you give a safe harbour to the little fishes, blimey, you've actually just done something quite positively good for everyone. You know, so that's sort of like the wholesome nature of it. And I'm being deliberately humorous, but when people talk about wholesomeness and inclusivity, well, we're human beings, but we live on a planet, and we need to take account of the impact that we have on the planet, whether it's good or bad. So if you can positively impact and give something and contribute something back to the natural environment, that would be a good thing.
So I mean, a lot of people, because we've been living in a dirty tricks world for so long, in which when anybody says and makes a promise of something which sounds too good to be true, they'll be going, hang on a minute, all right, I'll buy it, but what's the catch? I'll obviously have to ask, what is the catch? And we'll see.
The catch is the catch is really simple. The catch is to unlock the sea. So catch, lock, key, latchkey, kid. Right. The point is, if you're going to catch the sea, you actually have to put something in the sea, like a net or a generator, to catch the energy in the sea and return it to the land. So there is a cost, but as long as you minimise the cost down to the lowest level, and you make it so simple, it's a no-brainer. Everything in life comes at a cost, and life isn't fair. But so someone's going to have to pay somewhere to get the product that then returns the energy to the land to actually drive industry, drive energy, drive whatever you want it to drive. Because energy is the power of life. Everything runs on energy. So basically, you know, a power station costs money. A generator costs money. You can't generate without having a product, unless you're a miracle worker. I'm certainly not that.
And you've mentioned before, and I know that you said that the units themselves, they can sit in the tidal areas for about 80 years. Yeah. And there's minimum parts to change or repair at any time.
No. Yeah, there's nothing. I mean, it's so simple. There's so few moving parts. It's not like building a Boeing 747 engine and putting it into a tidal zone and then going, well, it's going to cost quite a lot to have it there. Oh, and we put it into a huge tidal range with. No, we're not doing that. We're completely stripping out all of the risk as far as we can see it and making it as low impact as possible, but with generating positive impact in return. It's not the normal way of doing things. I do realise this, and I do
Yeah.
apologise to the big boys for not playing their game. I'm really sorry.
Yeah, well, quite right. I think they'll be very upset because they're not getting a cut of it. The other thing is, if you were to implement these, let's say, the figures are out and you go, okay, we only need this many to be able to support these many houses, or however it's going. How quickly can this sort of technology be implemented? I mean, are we talking 10 years, 20 years? Are we seeing it?
No,
well, this is what I'm asking.
No. We've got to get through the design phase, get into the production phase. But once we got the production phase and the sort of like the modular product in, how quickly can we produce them? Right. How much factory space do we need to produce them? How many people do we need to produce them wherever it is? That's where we start returning money to the economy anyway. Oh, yes. By the way, if the patents and the products sit in the UK, let me have a think about this. Do you think we could export this all around the world? Because there's quite a lot of sea. I think there's more sea than land. And as long as we know where the tidal ranges that are suitable are, we might actually have something that would be beneficial to our status as an engineering nation.
Wow. Well, it sounds amazing. And then people are asking, why hasn't it been thought of before?
Well, we talked about that on the first call. It's because I think you called them naysayers, people who don't like change, say no, not in my backyard, baby. Well, the sea is in our backyard, except it's the sea. Most people look at the sea, but don't go into the sea unless you go surfing or sailing or blah, blah, blah. So the point is, it's already there. It doesn't disrupt your backyard environment anyway. It doesn't put a solar panel on your roof or put a wind farm up on your horizon or a solar panel farm along your highway. So basically, we're just putting something there that is just there, but you don't really see it or feel it. But you get the energy back. It's no brainer. But that's why I'm so passionate about it.
Yeah. So let me just get this. Let me just get this straight. You've got an energy resource that's reliable, dependable, because it's been there for centuries. The sea isn't going to sort of evaporate overnight. You've got a technology that is pretty inert and it just sits there and just does its thing. It doesn't need a maintenance crew coming in every week to double check it. You've got low cost energy that can supply the big boys if it wants the grid, but also the local community, benefiting the local community, hence lower things. And it's not affecting any marine life. It's not affecting people on boats. It's not affecting people on the kayaks and the canoes and all of that. It's going to upset and annoy the big corporations who would ordinarily see energy as a lovely, lucrative way to earn a big amount of money. What's not to like?
What could possibly go wrong?
What could possibly go wrong? Yeah. So,
well, apparently they may try and kill us, but apart from that, I'm not.
Apart from that minor thing. So, the 21st of June, people can come down and see something happening and find out as much about it as they can. They can enjoy their pint and support and bring their MP or anybody, any influential person, perhaps some investors who are looking for something to get into, to look at it. They can go to your website and find out more information. They can email you and ask the questions I didn't manage to think of.
And the commitment, as we talked about earlier, is if you want to know more, just ask, and we will give you what we can when we can. And we will tell you, there is a narrative, and getting the evidence is part of the journey. But if you want to be part of the journey, whether it's as something for your community, whether it's a future thing that you're interested in, or whether you want to be an investor, or I don't know, whether you want to be a consumer, whether it's a local scale, regional, why don't you just come to the table and talk to us? We're not bad people. We're trying to do the right thing in the right way.
And I'm sure there must be many businesses and things who say, well, actually, a bit like the old days, we're actually situated by some sort of a river or tidal thing that has less regular time. Would it work for us? Could we have a small scale version? Could we sit nice and discreetly near our factories or whatever, and all of that? I mean, you know, and it's going to save them a packet.
Well, and the point about this is if we've got the tide tables and the wave tables that we predict, and it's predictable, because I can't predict the weather. I can't predict, well, the sun isn't shining in lovely Guadeloupe near Death in Paradise location. It's not shining. The wind is blowing, but tomorrow the sun will be shining and the wind won't be blowing. Tide doesn't change. I can predict that. So as long as I know where you are, and I've got the results from where we've tested the second highest tidal range in the world, I can map this to that, I can give you a business case that is based on facts and evidence, and a return for what you have to put in to get something out. That's different to how most people present, given that I've run large programs of work for the NHS and local authorities and universities. I don't particularly like the games that people play with business cases anymore. This is, we will show you the evidence. We will show you the cost. We will show you the value return. You'll see what the return is, and you can work out for yourself the benefits received and who they will be received by. Is it going to be the big boys? Is it going to be your local community? Is it going to be all? I would like to see a win-win-win scenario, because that's actually how that. And I noticed some of your old posts. So there's an old English world order, and there's a new world order. This is going back to basics and going, do you know what? We used to actually be good at this stuff. And it used to be about talking together and working it out and coming to a decision between us. And a handshake and a gentleman's word was his bond. Well, that's kind of where I always was. So I'd rather be there than this, well, I'm going to screw you down with terms and conditions in a contract that are hidden and might be written in invisible ink anyway, or in paragraph 39, clause 7C. Did you not read that?
Yes, it's in such terrible legalese you couldn't make the head nor tail of it, and it's binding you in some nefarious way.
And it might be written in invisible ink that deteriorates after however long anyway.
Yes.
And then
once you've signed it, it appears. Hang on a minute, I didn't agree to that. Oh, you've signed it now. That's it.
Well, you signed it. You accepted the offer. So unfortunately, sir. And if you want to talk to the devil's attorney, he's on our side.
Yes, and it'll cost you a hell of a lot of money to get out of the contract, etc., etc. We know the score. Ian, it does sound very exciting. No wonder you're passionate about it. No wonder you're sailing around the Caribbean, you know, thrilled to bits. Will you be there? Will you be down there at Bideford on the 21st yourself?
No, because I'm going to look. My job is to tell the story and do the new business development direction. I don't need to be there. I need the results. So I will be back in the UK, but I need to get my boat on the move because we are registering part of the company in the most eco-sustainable part of the world, Costa Rica. So I need to go and get that done. So we've got the main company here. The business development side goes there because they are the world leaders in eco-sustainability, but I've also got some land there that I need to do some stuff with. So I will be part. I'll be part.
Yeah, I was going to say. I was only going to say that will there be people there to ask questions during that period? Yeah, sorry, there'll be a team of.
I got carried away with my Pirates of the Caribbean stuff. Yes, there will be people there, and if anybody wants someone to be there, we will organise people being there. I would expect. Well, anybody can phone me up and I'll talk to them, or phone Aaron up and talk to him. But on the other side, most people, I suspect, will want to talk to the technical bods and the engineers. Yes. So I'm useless at that. Hands up. My only skill is to work with lots of engineers and then try and make common sense to the common layperson.
Well, you've certainly made it sense to us. So if anybody's really interested and they want to talk to a techie chappie and they want to go down and witness it through the website, through your email, you can marry the people together and then they can go down. Yeah, that would be fantastic.
And the offer is genuine. If you want to know anything, just ask and we will tell you openly and transparently what it is you want to know. Oh, and if you want to challenge and be a naysayer, let's go for it.
That's it. Yeah, you're not just following the science; you're offering the science to scrutiny.
Yeah, yeah.
Is,
we would like it to be peer group reviewed, because if we've made a mistake, I'm never right. I'm just asking where I've got it wrong, because
yes,
I'm not Jesus, by the
way. You can't walk on the water; you've got to sail on it.
Or surf, or swim.
Or surf, or swim, yeah, or dive at, yeah. The myriad of things that you can do in where they filmed Death in Paradise. I didn't realise that series was still going, but there we are.
Well, they wanted to use my boat on it for the next series.
Oh, did they?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's a very interesting series. It's a very beautiful place. But it's...
Well, make sure you don't get knocked off as one of because somebody always gets knocked off in the... I haven't seen it for years and years because I don't have a television anymore, but so just be careful when they use your boat, because you never know who they are.
I was sitting, just as an end shot, I was sitting in the other bar just across there, which is called Les Ignorants. But the film crew was sitting there, and I didn't know they were the film crew, but they... To get away from the Death in Paradise venue, they come to the hotel here just to get drunk and sort of like relax.
Yes. Oh, how lovely. Well, there we are, mixing with the elite of TV. Good fun. Ian, thank you so much for telling us about it. Let's hope lots of people go down. If you're in Devon, make sure you go to Bideford. It's a lovely place. It's got a wonderful bridge down there, as I remember rightly. I've been there before in the long distance past, and I must get down there. But the King's Arms, we've plugged them, so go and get your pint of something lovely and enjoy watching this new technology doing its thing in front of your eyes.
Yeah, Ian? And try Devon pasty as a comparison to a Cornish pasty, because there's a competition going on there.
Oh, is there? There we are. I'll have to ask Aaron about that next time I speak to him. Brilliant stuff. So it's from the 21st, and it's running for a lunar cycle, you said, which is what, about a month or something like that?
Yeah, we so because it's moved to a new location, theoretically we're going to be allowed to run it for the full lunar cycle, so that's good.
Wow, there we are. So you don't have to be... It's from the 21st, so if you're now on the 22nd, 23rd, whatever, it'll still be in operation. Fantastic. I'll put the website details in the description, so check that out. But if you want to actually ask Ian a question, his email address will be in there. And don't make it all about his boat and his Caribbean lifestyle. For goodness sake. Right, brilliant stuff. Thank you so much, Ian. I will be back with more monologues. Hopefully this time the recording has people have heard me, although they probably don't want to, and everything.
Well, I enjoy doing these conversations anyway, so if it goes wrong this time as well, then we can just do it all over again.
Yeah, that's it. And make me feel incredibly jealous that you're out there having... Well, you said there's no sunshine, so I'm not so worried now. The chemtrailers are doing their best to blight at your end too, so that's... I'm a happy bunny. In the meantime, I'll be back with more monologues, more wonderful guests. Thank you for tuning in, ladies and gentlemen. Do check it out. Till next time, from us, goodbye.